Welcome back, Chelsea fans, to the London is Blue podcast, a podcast made for the fans, by the fans, celebrating the champions of England. Come on, you Blues. Welcome back, Chelsea fans, to the London is Blue podcast. My name is Brandon, and joining me, as usual, are my co-hosts. Actually, you know what? Just co-host tonight, Nick. It's just you, man.
Yeah, so Dan did one of his scheduled absences this evening, but we are blessed. Blessed is not the right word. We have Jesus Martinez from Bayou City Blues back on the pod tonight. What is this, the fourth time we've had you on the pod, man? You're like our Alec Baldwin.
I think it's like your third or fourth, and I guess it would have been okay if you said blessed. It's Sunday. It's Jesus.
Yeah,
I mean, it all kind of ties in together.
Yeah, but we all know that our listeners are now kind of shutting down the notion of you being on the pod. It's the way it goes, man.
It is what it is, man. Thanks for having me, guys. It's always a good time.
No, we appreciate it. You round out the trio for the evening. In this episode, we will be covering Chelsea's trophy win and Chelsea's trophy loss, along with previewing the final preseason match of this 2015 summer. As we jump into it, I think everyone by now has seen the Arsenal match, the FA Community Shield. I'm not really sure, Nick, if this is a real game or a preseason game. A lot of people have debated this back and forth. Obviously, if you talk to Arsenal, they're going to say, oh, this is a competitive match. You talk to Chelsea today, they're going to say, no, this is just a preseason match.
Yeah, I mean, I think what this signifies more than anything is that, officially football is back. It's kind of like in NFL terms, it's like the Hall of Fame game where, it doesn't really matter, but you have a couple teams kind of slugging it out there. It's definitely a friendly. There are no points taken from this game, so I don't really put too much stock in it, minus the fact that we're playing the team I hate the most. So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely not a match that means anything. Jesus, I believe that Arsenal fans think differently, though. Is that correct?
Well, this finalized their preseason treble.
Right.
And sure enough, there's gonna be a huge parade, open bus parade tomorrow in North London. I can only imagine. To them, it's like they won the league. And I guess anytime you beat a rival, especially a local rival, it's always going to be something to celebrate when you're Arsenal, when you're not used to beating Jose Mourinho or Chelsea as of late, and especially when all you have to show is, back-to-back FA Cups, very impressive, but until you win the league, you need to celebrate elsewhere. But to them, it's like they won the World Cup, and let them enjoy, because come this season, we'll see who finishes top.
I mean, it was at Wembley, and like you said, Jesus, it is two of the bigger teams in the EPL, but by technicality, it is a friendly. But I'm sure that debate will continue to go on. The score was Chelsea 0, Arsenal 1. Our predictions go as follows. Myself, I had a 1-1 draw with Chelsea winning in penalty kicks. I was really holding out for that one. Dan predicted 2-1 Chelsea. And Nick, you had 1-0, but obviously you had Chelsea, specifically Cesc with the winner. Yeah.
And that looked really unlikely as the game started. So yeah, nothing there. We're still 0-0 for those keeping track at home. Dan, you're still in it, even though you're not on this pod particularly. You have a bye week. I don't think you have. I don't think Dan submitted his picks for this week. So yeah, I mean, our predictions thus far have been crap. So hopefully, as soon as we get into the regular season, we're able to get back on form.
We're just, getting the dust knocked off, just like the players are. We'll get our predictions locked in. We just kind of, feeling it out this season. All right. Well, Who Scored gave the player ratings, which we know is all the statistical analysis, and it's not really a judgment. It's if you do this many passes and this many successes and everything. It's numbers, and Chelsea had a lot of sixes. It'll be interesting to see. If you guys haven't, go to the We Ain't Got No History page on SB Nation, and you can actually rate all the players from this game. I did it, and my top performers actually were Willian and Oscar. I thought they did the best, but who scored had Matic, Jesus? Who kind of stood out for you today that you thought, hey, they actually had a good match, even though a lot of the players are looking slow?
It's kind of hard to pinpoint somebody who I could say, hey, everybody else is looking decent or slow, but even though this particular person didn't do much, they didn't put a foot wrong. Obviously, I'm going to go ahead and start off with something, and I'm going to have to say Willian, by far, to me, was more than deserving of being the best player for Chelsea on the pitch. Probably the most creative and best player on both sides. But you can't really put much wrong on Cahill or Terry. And I think even though we lost 1-0, they were both solid enough to maintain Coughlin, Walcott, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Giroud when he came on. And they didn't stand out as they mostly would, especially last season. But I think our center backs did enough to keep us into the match. And even though we have guys like John Terry who don't have the pace to keep up with those young, quick attackers from Arsenal, they still did enough. And I think John Terry and Gary Cahill are a little bit more deserving of credit and notability than they've been given in the tabloids today and by other people that I've noticed on social media. Because to me, they stood out, and they did enough, even though we lost 1-0.
Yeah, I'm going to, you kind of took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say that Cahill was the only one who really looked the part for me today. I appreciate what Willian's capable of doing. My problem, and we'll get into this in the first half analysis, but my problem with Willian was that initially we started out in kind of like a morphed 4-3-3 with Cesc and Ramirez kind of in that middle, and Willian and Hazard just had nothing going on. I mean, when they would receive the ball on a counter, they would slow down and wait for the rest of the team to catch up, and it wasn't until like the 65th minute that Willian decided to start running at defenders and started causing trouble. And for me, it's just on-off switch that this team has sometimes, where you're just kind of baffled, especially from a guy like Hazard who could eat Arsenal's lunch anytime he wanted to, and just decided to kind of take it easy today. So I thought that Cahill was actually really good. He made a few pretty crunching tackles, and generally was quick enough to keep up with Walcott, and then strong enough to kind of battle Giroud a little bit. So I think he was really the only guy for me that stood out. I mean, Courtois was fine. The goal that they got, there's nothing he could have done about that anyway. So I don't really put a ton of blame on him. But from Matic to get a 7-9 to me was a little high. And obviously he's my favorite player on the team, so I love the guy. But yeah, I don't think he deserved a 7-9 in my opinion.
Well, as the scoreline showed, it's a pretty tight match. Arsenal had 5 shots on goal to Chelsea's 2, but Chelsea actually edged out possession. As much as Arsenal fans are used to Chelsea sitting back and just absorbing Arsenal's pressure and hitting them on the counter, the roles were a bit reversed today. Chelsea at 57%, Arsenal at 43%. I think that's probably quite a bit lower than what the Arsenal fans are used to seeing. And then, as you noted, Nick, Courtois was the busier of the 2 goalkeepers with 4 saves to Arsenal's mystery goalkeeper with 2 saves.
Yeah, on the possession thing really quickly, and this is something I get so mad at Arsenal fans for talking about when they play us. Possession means nothing, especially in a game like this. It means nothing. The possession that Chelsea had at the end of the first half and at the very end of the second half when they were pressing meant a lot because they were going for it. But I can't tell you how frustrated I was getting from the 45th minute till about the 80th minute, where Chelsea was just kind of lackluster passing the ball around the back, trying to crossfield pass. When they would get close to the 18-yard box, it would be little passes trying to walk into the back of the net. For me, Chelsea played more like Arsenal today than I would ever like to see, and that really bothered me because I thought it was too cute. I tweeted that out from our Twitter account. It was too cute. They were trying to be too intricate. They weren't taking rips at goal and trying to make Petr Cech work. So, I mean, that possession stat means very little to me. It's great that Chelsea is able to possess the ball, but most teams at this level are able to possess the ball. I mean, that stat is just nothing.
All right. Well, as we kind of move into the game, Chelsea have actually played 24, I'll put in quotes, competitive matches at Wembley. So essentially not, preseason games and things like that. They've been in 9 FA Cup finals, 5 FA Cup semifinals, 3 League Cup finals, 2 full Members' Cup finals, and 5 Charity or Community Shield matches. Notice that they're not finals, they're matches, right, Nick?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right. Well, Chelsea's record is actually really, really impressive. 17 wins, 1 draw, and 6 losses at Wembley. So, going into this match, you have to feel good because, you had Jose Mourinho's record against Arsene Wenger, and then you have Chelsea's history at Wembley being really good. But, today I guess was a different day. Jesus, we were talking for the podcast, and I kind of laughed because I said, I think you can tell how serious Jose takes a match by what he wears to the game.
Jose is still in that American preseason tour mentality, wearing probably the same clothes that he hasn't washed in the 10 days that the club were in Montreal and obviously traveling across the U.S. You can tell by how serious Jose takes it because to him, we still have another preseason match left to play on Wednesday. So it's kind of ironic when you have an official, what technically is considered an official FA match, a Sunday before your final preseason match. And Jose's mentality was, I'm going to wear what I want to wear. I'm going to save the suit for Swansea. And today's match, I'm going to put a decent squad up there. I'm going to play my tactics the way they need to be played. However, I don't feel that this is going to be the most serious of matches, even though I am playing Arsene Wenger and even though I am playing Arsenal at Wembley. And that's literally how I think Jose Mourinho woke up this morning or last night before he went to sleep. Those were his thoughts. And you can tell how serious he takes it. Now, Jose Mourinho obviously takes every match seriously because he takes a little bit of everything out of each technical error, each pass, each player on the pitch, and he takes that and emphasizes it into the next match. But in retrospective, he really didn't seem to care as much. And even if you listen to his interviews pre-match over the previous couple days, he just really made it sound like he was just sitting back on the beach. Hey, it doesn't mean anything if I lose to Arsene Wenger in this match. What matters is how I finish at the end of the season. And that's really my mentality on why his shirt wasn't ironed and he looked like a typical Felipe Scolari on the bench.
Oh man, that's a horrifying thought there. I'll tell you that. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think we all know that Mourinho is, if not the best dressed manager in the world, he's up there. The dude looks fly most of the time. And my only caveat to this sentiment that Brandon put out there is that the Liverpool slip match that we all remember so fondly, he was in the tracksuit that day too, and I think he took that match really seriously, even though we weren't supposed to, quote unquote, take the match that seriously. So his head's in the game all the time, no matter what he's wearing. And I think, you hear the players talk about him during training and all of these things, and the way he is, however long they're training, he is dialed in for that amount of time, and then they're done, right? So he's. I think it would be really hypocritical of for him to go out and just say, meh, this match doesn't really matter. We've just been training for the last 3-ish weeks to just kind of go out there and phone it in. I don't think that's ever been his mentality, and that's kind of why he's become so endearing to Chelsea fans, because if you buy a ticket, you're going to go out there and you're going to get somewhat of the best performance that Chelsea can put out there. Now, obviously today wasn't great, but I do think their intent was to try and win this match, even though the result didn't come.
Well, as we get into actual match itself, this was Petr Cech's first game against Chelsea, and it hurt. It sucked. Just kind of seeing that pre-game. He was still talking to all the players. I mean, him and Hazard walked off at halftime talking, and at the end of the match, he's talking with John Terry and some things, but that was not fun to see, I don't think, for any of us Chelsea fans.
No. I mean, Stupid shirt that he has to wear. God, I mean, they couldn't have at least given him a good goalkeeping kit. Like, that thing is the ugliest thing I've ever seen. Man, Jesus, have you seen an uglier kit than that?
Uh, Not really. And quite honestly, I will always love Petter, but I always thought that he had a better sense of style than what I saw him wear today at Wembley. It was atrocious. But you know what? Good for him. He deserved the applause that he got from that he received from both sides of the stadium. And even though it did hurt to see him in an Arsenal kit, he remains a Chelsea legend. Will always be a Chelsea legend. And I know by any of us three on this show, he'll never be booed.
Oh,
But
no.
I want to do him a favor, and if you guys want to partake, flying next time I fly to London, is maybe meeting up with them, asking them if I can borrow that kit, and quite possibly just burning it for him and doing him a favor.
Right. Do you remember the, God, I think it was Colombia in the 1994 World Cup that had that just like every color Tetris kit? Do you remember those?
The goalkeeper ones, they look like I know exactly which ones you're talking about. Yeah,
Yeah.
I had one.
They looked better than what Better has to wear now. I mean, those, I would gladly go back in time, take one of those 1994 ugly Tetris kits and give it to Petr Cech to wear, because that's how terrible those look.
Jorge Campos, the old
right.
Mexican
Yep.
national goalkeeper, had better goalkeeper kits than what I saw Petr Cech wear today.
Yeah, they're bad. Yeah, to echo your sentiment, Jesus is absolutely correct. He will never, ever, ever be booed. And I think the kind of the irony here is that, you know, a year and a half on, Arsenal fans are still booing Cesc Fabregas and just constantly booing every Chelsea player. And all Chelsea fans are doing in the stands is giving Petr Cech, you know, the applause that he deserves. And it just shows the gulf in class between fan bases. You know, one fan base is educated, the other one is not.
So I kind of want to do a fun little thing. Since we all agree that Petr Cech is in an ugly goalkeeper jersey, fans, we know you guys like to Photoshop and meme people up. Like, let's see what kind of funny jerseys from like the 90s and 80s that we can put Petr Cech in. Tweet at us, and let's see what we can do. Let's see if we can show Petr Cech that we can help him out with some better jerseys.
Absolutely. This is going to be awesome.
All right, well, you know, continuing with the match kickoff, Chelsea were off to an unbelievably slow start, and it all started with the kickoff. What a terrible execution was that Matic gets caught in possession off a kickoff. Like, at what point do you get at the professional level and you can't make two passes to go backwards and, like, avoid pressure?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this a little bit before we started recording, but I mean, I don't remember the last time Nemanja Matic lost the ball, you know, during live play, let alone from a kickoff where he just couldn't get the ball out from under his feet. I mean, I watched him today as Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain tried to hack at him with both hands and feet, and he just pushed him off with one arm and just kept dribbling the ball like it was nothing, like he was a little fly. I mean, for him to not be able to get the kickoff right was crazy. And then, you know, it was just from that point, Jesus, you could kind of see that the team wasn't 100% in it per se.
I think that first 3-4 seconds with the kickoff pretty much set the tempo of what the rest of the match was going to be. Not to that extent, but after I saw that, I kind of felt like, wow, this is how we're going to start. They're still in American holiday mentality. It's not an excuse, but it's true. The guys just recently played on Tuesday. They flew to London, I believe, the same night. So they've been in the States for, a couple weeks. In Montreal is where they were based at. I still think they're a little, what's the right word, lethargic. They were missing a little bit of mental strength, and that showed and proved that one of your best and strongest players can do that on a kickoff. And I can't. I have no words to. And I was actually in shock when I saw it, and I literally just put my hands up. I'm like, all right, that's how we're gonna start. I hope that's not how it ends. And luckily, it didn't end that way. But the mentality just isn't there. It wasn't there today, and that just went to go prove it. And we can just go ahead and rest assured, and let's not freak out, because We still have another week before we play Swansea, and we'll be all right. And let all the cobwebs be brushed off today. Let them all be brushed off against Fiorentina on Wednesday. As long as that doesn't happen starting next Saturday, then we're good to go.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I know that you were at the PSG game in Charlotte, a week ago or so. That was kind of a rough and tumble match too. There were, some elbows, there were some dirty tackles, and it just looked like Chelsea was trying to stay above it in that match. Whereas today, it just looked like Chelsea was not trying to exert too much energy because they knew, come Wednesday that they'd have to play again. And I don't necessarily fault them for that. It sucks because personally I hate Arsenal and their fans and their stupid coach so much that, like, personally, anytime we play them, I want to just beat them mercilessly. But I understand, the reasoning behind it if that was the case. It just seems very strange for me as a fan to see a Jose Mourinho-led team with John Terry as captain at Wembley just look kind of disinterested. And maybe that was the game plan all along, and maybe Jose was trying to give Arsene Wenger one just so that he had it, and that wasn't the talking point going into the next match. But just very uncharacteristic, I guess, how I would circle that in one word.
Let me put into perspective right quick for your listeners and for you guys and anybody else who kind of wants to know. Like, you hit it right there. That was not a typical Jose Mourinho display, especially by the players in a John Terry-led squad. However, the team, I don't think were as interested, or let's put it this way, the Community Shield wasn't as important to win for Chelsea as it was for Arsenal. We saw that, and we just mentioned how Jose Mourinho was dressed. It's still preseason form to a technicality. But what you have to take into consideration is what Jose and his players were going to take away from this, especially after losing possession on the kickoff, is let's get all of this out of our system. And let's play hard. Let's give it 100%, but don't go overboard where you're going to hurt the team in the long run, especially by next Sunday. Let's not, no red cards, no injuries. If you don't have to go full force into a tackle, don't do it. That kind of thing. Now, that might sound like our players were being lazy, but really they weren't. They were just trying to take into consideration that, hey, this is the Community Shield. Yes, we're playing a rival. Yes, we want to win. However, we're not going to hurt ourselves in our season campaign, which starts next weekend, by overexerting ourselves and our energy into something that, hey, it might be a little bit more important to somebody else than it is to us. And that also may sound bad because I may be undermining what Jose's men had in their mindset at the time. And I'm not trying to underplay the Community Shield. But today it was more about what do we fix? And without Diego Costa, who we're not more than likely aren't going to have next week, I'm going to take notes from what I saw today from my players, and I'm going to go ahead and prepare that same style 10 times over for next Saturday, because this is still a learning curve for our club, and that's all today's match was.
I think you're right, and I would recommend taking the lead on how we react to this game from Jose and the players. If Jose came out in his post-match presser and was crushed and was fuming and was, just kind of stirring the pot, you would know how much that game meant. If the players came out and were just like, we're absolutely crushed, we blew it, we're at Wembley, we had a chance, you can overreact or maybe take it a little more seriously. But, like you guys are saying, the players know how important this game is, and they made it, less important than a Premier League game. And that's how we should react. It's not a big deal. It sucks, like Nick says, because we lose to Arsenal. It sucks because Petr Cech wins and holds up that octagonal stop sign shield. But the players aren't freaking out, so we're okay. We're going to continue to prepare, like Jesus said, not get injuries, not get silly red cards, things like that, and move on. So pretty much the next big thing that happened was Arsenal did take the lead in the 24th minute through the Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. He got quite a bit of space against Dave. Dave stuck with him pretty well, but the Ox ripped it into the far post side netting. Not much, like you said, Dave or Courtois could do on that, Nick.
No, I mean it was a good goal, good for him. He's a bright player and someone who, I think Dave might have taken for granted a little bit, to be honest with you, at the beginning of the game. I've said numerous times I think Dave is the best left back in the world, but today he didn't show that, and got burned a little bit. Now there are just some shots Jesus, you just can't stop, and that was one of them. It hit the top of the bar and bounced in. It was just a great goal.
There's nothing Courtois could have done.
No.
Very well done. Sadly, the goal came from Azpilicueta's side, and to me, the two most disappointing players on the pitch today were our two fullbacks, Ivanovic and Dave, who both were not in their true element, especially Dave. How he allowed Chamberlain to cut him in twice like that and then take that shot into the upper left corner. It's beyond me, but it happens. It was a nice play by a good player. You can't take that away from Chamberlain whatsoever. It's a good pass from Walcott to make the play happen. Nothing Courtois could have done. You can't. There's another example of what we're taking away from this match. It was a little bit of laziness that, you know what, okay, we'll let it slide this time. But that cannot happen in the next 38 matches that remain from here to May, because mistakes like that are going to cost you points and they'll cost you the league. So we learned from that today. We learned that Azpilicueta is a better player than that, and we know that on any given Saturday or Sunday he can stop Chamberlain from doing that. Today, he let himself be beat, and I promise you that's not going to happen again. But an excellent goal, and you can't take that away from the player who created it.
A couple player highlights from the first half. Ramirez had two good chances in the first half. He had his shot that just missed the near post, and then his header, which even Jose Mourinho had a hilarious reaction on the sideline. He just kind of tapped himself on the forehead and was like, duh. Really surprised Ramirez didn't bag that one, Nick.
Yeah, hey, Jesus, I'm gonna chime in with my most disappointing player, and that's Ramirez. I mean, I tweeted out before the game, I thought, if we don't add another central midfielder before the window closes, that Ramirez will be an incredible resource going forward, because he is so versatile. He can play on the wing, he can play in the center of the park in that pivot role if need be. So, yeah, I mean, he was just really disappointing. He started out kind of in midfield and then drifted out to the right wing. Was never really that effective. The two chances he had, the first one was a little bit, kind of a wind-up chance anyway. I didn't expect him to score, but he was pretty close. And then you have to score that header. You absolutely have to. And what Jose was doing on the sideline was like, head it down, and that's all he, head it the bleep down. Like, that's all you have to do there. You're in the easiest position in the world. Petr Cech doesn't have a chance to react to where you're at, and yeah, he was extremely disappointing for me. He's kind of a guy who has never done anything particularly brilliant. He's just been kind of a jack of all trades, and I think he needs to figure out what his role is on this team, because I thought it was a curious selection from Mourinho, to be honest with you, especially with the way that Victor Moses has been playing to this point, and I really wish that he would have nailed a couple of those shots, because should we not add anybody, he's going to be a vital part of this team.
So the thing with Ramirez today is, I'll give him some credit. To me, he wasn't the most disappointing player, but yes, he could have done better. He was pivotal in a lot of the physical aspect of the match and fighting for the ball. But the one thing that Ramirez lacks, and he lacked in this match, which cost us very much, was creativity. And that's something that Ramirez has never been a strong point. So with that, we look at the header. I don't even think Ramirez was expecting to get that ball, that header. And it was a little too high up for him. He should have headed it down. It should have been a goal. The creativity, once again, is not there. I was surprised by the pick when I saw the starting lineup. I really would have preferred Oscar to play in that number 10 role, allowed Fabregas to drop back, and given Fabregas the first half of the match to actually be able to have more visual of the pitch and build from the back up like he did in the second half. But that didn't happen. So we have to go with the whole in Jose we trust aspect of this game. Ramirez, Could have done a little more, but he did enough. He did enough to warrant himself some kind of credit for this match. He was still taken off early on in the second half, and he did need to come off because once again, the thing we were lacking was creativity, and that's something that we really needed to get that second goal. That first goal in the second half, and that's when we brought on Oscar. I'm a little disappointed with the pick, and I am a little disappointed with Ramirez, but I'm not gonna pick on him too much. Hopefully, I don't think we're going to get another player that's going to replace him. So hopefully, with that being said, Jose can put a little fire, because last season wasn't one of Ramirez's best. It wasn't like the previous season or two where he was just exceptional in my eyes, and he was one of my favorite players to watch. Ramirez needs to realize that he is going to be a pivotal part of this squad for this upcoming season, and it's going to be a long season because Jose's objective is the Champions League. And if he wants to be part of that, and if he really wants to get in there and fight for his spot, he's going to have to improve a little bit more than what he showed us today.
Well, I mean, I kind of had issue with Remy's performance a little bit. I just want to throw in a real short note on that, mainly because he was offsides 4 times in the first half alone. But the thing about it was, when he wasn't offsides, he got into dangerous positions, and he's actually the one who crossed the ball into Ramirez for that header. So, like, I just want to point that out. Like, personally, I was getting frustrated with Remy in the first half, but so was Jose because he put on Falcao in the second half.
Yeah, I was just beyond myself with Remy. I mean, I look at Remy as a guy who just has, it just seems like he has these opportunities, and just whenever he has an opportunity like this, just blows it. This is a chance for him. We all know Costa's not going to come back. Maybe in a few weeks, but his hamstring's going to be niggly all year, and Remy needs to take these opportunities and just do something with them. I mean, we joke that he scores when he wants, but he looked really lazy, really out of sync. Someone who just was trying to get as close as he could to that high line that Arsenal was playing and try and roll off. But at halftime, the Fox commentators were kind of pointing and comparing him to Diego Costa, and how Diego Costa occupies 2 center backs, and how he's constantly exerting effort, constantly running behind, being a pest, and Remy's just kind of floating there, not really doing anything. I mean, Koscielny doesn't really have to mark him, Mertesacker doesn't really have to mark him, and he's, the one time he did get by was on the wing, which is probably where he belongs.
A lot of people have been giving credit to the Arsenal back four on their performance, which I'll give credit where credit is due, and I think they did a very good job of holding Chelsea's attack. But that's because there was no true Chelsea attack. I've been a big fan of Loic Remy even before he came to Chelsea. That was the one player that I really thought was going to be a good understudy for Diego Costa. This wasn't the Loic Remy that I'm used to watching. Last season, whenever he came onto the pitch, he always stepped up and he scored goals. And sadly, he was injured here and there. But I expected a little more. What he does, though, as a player, yes, he is similar to Costa in a way, where he does an excellent job of moving off the ball. That's what makes Loic Remy very dangerous. But in order for him to be effective when moving off the ball, he has to have the creativity coming from the midfield. And that's what was lacking today. And so we can't put too much fault on him for that. Now, the other thing is the offsides. When you're called offsides that many times, especially in one half, in the first half of football, that's just pure laziness. That's a lack of mental strength, and you're not paying attention to where you're at on the pitch compared to the back four. And it not only is it laziness, but it's, like I said, it's lack of being focused. And that's another thing that we're going to take away from this. Once again, we're taking away little things in each segment of this podcast, and that's going to be implemented to the next week, because Remy's going to have to start next week. We're not going to have Diego Costa. I'm pretty confident of that. That lack of focus and that laziness is not going to be able to happen next week, because Swansea play a higher back four than Arsenal do. Swansea's back four actually come up not even too far away from the half field line. So a lot of our play next week is going to be counterattack. And in order for a lone striker, to be effective on a counterattack with a high playing back four, he's going to have to play right on the line or right above the halfway circle. And that's going to take a lot of focus. And when you play in a counterattack, and when a lot of your attack against Swansea is going to be relying on that counterattack, you're going to have to focus 10 times more than you did today.
Just while we're on the striker situation right now, today, if there's a big takeaway for me from today, it's that, maybe, we didn't make the right selection for a backup striker in either Remy or Falcao, because when either one of those two guys leave the line, the team looks less potent to me as a collective, because the space becomes so small. I saw Falcao today drop back to the halfway line to try and receive the ball, and to me that's just unacceptable for a striker in this system. I think what I question is we know what Diego Costa brings to the table, and what those attributes are physicality, the ability to win an aerial duel, the ability to occupy two center backs and do all these things that a number 11 can do. Why did we not try and find somebody to fit that mold a little bit more than we did? Because I think both of these two strikers, Remy and Falcao, are great players. There's no doubt in my mind they can score goals for us. But are they really first choice? I'm not sure.
Well, time will tell with that for sure. That pretty much wrapped up the first half, I think. Definitely a brighter half in the second half for Chelsea. We already mentioned that Falcao came on for Remy right at halftime. Oscar came on for Ramirez in the 54th minute, and Jesus already alluded to how much that really helped Chelsea grow into the game. Yep. Then Zuma came on for Dave in the 69th minute. Zuma playing left back, just to clarify. And then towards the end of the game, Moses came on for Terry in the 82nd minute, which is when we went to the three-back set. But I mean, go ahead and touch on the substitutions, Jesus, and kind of maybe who you thought was a good impact, and maybe who we thought was a little interesting.
So the Loic Remy substitution had to happen. We had to give Falcao a run, and he needed it. And it was the same thing that we got from Loic Remy, and not too much creativity. My situation with Falcao in the second half was, and he's always done this, especially when he was at United, is he makes runs parallel to the back four. And when you don't have a lot of creativity coming from your midfield, you're not going to be successful with that. But like I said, he had to get in there. We had to give him the playing time. I wasn't totally happy, but his impact was still the fact that he drew players to him. When Oscar came on for Ramirez, that was the most important substitution of the match. What that did to us was we allowed Oscar to play in the number 10 position, which made Fabregas drop back, and he played alongside Matic. What that does for Fabregas, it allows him to see the pitch, and and I said it earlier, he's able to build from the back all the way to the top of the pitch. It was Fabregas's pass that he gave to Hazard when Hazard missed that open goal that he skied over the goal. But see, it's things like that when you allow Fabregas to build from the back to the front, that you get plays like that, and he's able to see more. He saw Hazard's run, and he made the pass when needed. It was very important because Oscar's substitution, and I was actually happy with Oscar. It's not the Oscar that we were all used to seeing in the first season that he was there. But I was very happy because he did enough to create, and that was something we were lacking in the first half. And not to mention, he nearly scored on that free kick. I don't think the free kick was powerful enough to get past Petr Cech. Cech made an exceptional save. But it added greater value, a little bit more of that, for lack of a better word, that oomph that you actually need. And that's what Oscar's substitution did for us. And then, I don't think, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go for it.
I was just going to say that Zuma came on for a very underperforming Azpilicueta, who to me was my most disappointing player. I was very much not impressed with his performance today. But Zuma was playing center back and left back, and Zuma is too big to play left back, so I didn't understand what Jose was trying to do there until he brought Victor Moses into the match for John Terry. That's when Zuma switched back to the center back position. Victor Moses didn't really get enough time on the pitch, sadly enough. But I think Victor Moses was that one player we should have seen early on because, in my opinion, he was Chelsea's best player so far in this preseason. and he's done enough to try to win his respect from Jose and from the fans who kind of forgotten who Victor Moses was. All in all, I think the substitutions ended up working to an extent, except for the striker for striker at halftime.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Victor Moses was a guy I expected to start today, and I think he would have given Arsenal a lot of trouble, actually, especially Monreal, because you look at his style, and he's very very direct, and he will run at players. He will give defense a headache on that right hand side. He'll bring defenders out to try and stop him, and all that does is just open up space for our creative players to get in there. And honestly, he has a pretty good goal scoring record when he's been given the chance too. So, I'm totally fine with the Victor Moses situation. I hope he stays at Chelsea this year. I think he can provide some depth that we desperately need because Lord knows that Juan Cuadrado is not going to do that. So. My second point is that when Oscar came on, we said on the last pod, Jesus, that this is a very important year for him. He hasn't shown a ton in the last 2 years to make me think that he's our number 10, forever going forward. But maybe this is the year that he does prove that. And frankly, I think he's far and away our best free kick taker as far as a threat on goal. So he does add that element to his what Chelsea has offensively going forward. So, Brandon, I don't know how you feel about Oscar, but I thought he looked relatively bright compared to the rest of the front three.
Well, I mean, it'll be pretty easy to say that that's accurate when he played a half and had the most shots on our team.
Yeah.
So he was very bright. He was very lively. I was excited to see him kind of get back in there, shoved Willian out wide. But I thought he was pushing the tempo and the pace, which we lacked throughout most of the game. I guess an interesting thing, once the game finally ended and the Arsenal fans went mental, Mourinho shaked hands with all the Arsenal players at the end of the game. And then he proceeded to snub Wenger, or Wenger snubbed him, doesn't really matter, and then threw his medal, his second place medal, to an Arsenal fan, Nick.
Yeah, I mean, this is every time we lose a match, it's almost like, what is Mourinho going to do to kind of just put his cherry on top of that, the crap Sunday that was that match? And this was definitely the cherry on top. I mean, for those who say that he's classless, for him to watch the trophy ceremony and for him to be able to go shake hands with everybody, that is not classless. I mean, to me, he stuck around. He did his diligence. He, was more than available to the players. Whether Arsene Wenger wants to shake his hand or not, I could care less. It does not matter to me. It goes straight on my list of things I'm not bothered by, and it will remain there forever. The second point, though, is that he threw his second place medal into the stands, and it just so happened to go to an Arsenal fan. And there was a picture on Twitter of the Arsenal fan proudly displaying Jose Mourinho's second place medal, which I thought there was just so much irony in that photo. It just drives me nuts. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was a relatively classy display from Mourinho.
It was, and kudos to him. And in my eyes, I'm going to go ahead and just believe that it was Wenger who snubbed Mourinho for the handshake, snubbed him twice. And Mourinho did what Mourinho does. To me, a part of him shaking every Arsenal player's hand is kind of like up yours, kind of like, I'm still here, I'm a gentleman, but it's still a mind game. It's still a mind game that Mourinho does, and he's a class act. He really is sometimes, and that's what he proved that by shaking their hands. But he also does it to play mind games with Wenger. That's exactly what he was doing, and I know that he knew that Wenger was going to see that, and Wenger's going to be at the end like, why is he shaking all of my players' hands? Why does he have to do that? He's not a classy guy. He's always talking this, talking that. But I love seeing that from Mourinho. I absolutely loved it, and good for the kid who's going to enjoy a Chelsea second place medal, because be as it is, Jose said he never keeps his first place medals. Why would he keep a second place medal?
Yeah, I looked at the handshaking thing as a prelude to the massive trophy celebration they were going to have in the locker room. Because, okay, so he goes around, shakes everybody's hand, and they go back in the locker room just having shook his hand, and Arsene Wenger's in there saying, you know what, we finally beat that bastard, we did it, and they're probably all like, yeah, we just shook hands with him, it was fine. Like, he's not as big of a dick as everyone wants to make him out to be. He's definitely not. I mean, he does have a very interesting, kind of sense of humor, and I think this was kind of just part of that, knowing that his team probably should have won this game and just didn't.
Nick, right quick to talk and start to interrupt, and kind of to top of what you just said is like everybody thinks that Mourinho's a dick, but he's really not. I actually got I got a lot of that during the summer tour when a lot of people who knew me but didn't know me, they're like, dude, we used to think you were such a outspoken dick, but you're actually a nice guy.
I can vouch for that. I mean, I won't. I don't know if I should have said that publicly, but yeah, no, Jesus is actually not a dick. He's actually a nice guy.
Just like Mourinho is not a dick. Mourinho's actually a nice guy, believe it or not.
Jesus, that's where the comparisons between you and Mourinho pretty much stop.
There is, yeah. After that, it's, yeah. I'm just like toilet water compared to that, man.
All right. Well, thankfully, it wasn't all about losing this weekend for Chelsea, as the Chelsea ladies won the first FA Cup that was played at Wembley. So you can add that to Chelsea's tally of our home away from home. They played the Notts County ladies. It, again, was an FA Cup at Wembley, and it was Saturday, August 1st. Ji So-yoon scored the only goal of the game in 37th minute. Nick, it was a little scrappy, kind of one of those bounced around, fell to her feet, poked it in from close.
Yeah, if you've ever seen Stoke score a goal, it was very much like that. I mean, but at the end of the day, again, if you win a trophy, you win a trophy, and very much congratulations to the Chelsea ladies. I know that we don't talk enough about them, and hopefully the Women's World Cup, that kind of opens that conversation again. But yeah, very proud of their accomplishment. They've been kicking ass for a few years now, and I hope people are taking notice of their accomplishments.
Hey, Zeus, I'd say you have a bit of a favorite player on this team, Eniola Aluko, is that right?
I love her. She's just amazing to watch. It's no secret that I didn't watch too much of the Women's World Cup, but I did watch all of England's matches, and she's a beast. I mean, we have 7 players, guys. I don't know if a lot of people realize that were on the World Cup squad for England. 7. That's quite a bit. So Aluko, to me, is who could I compare her to in Chelsea, in the Chelsea men's team? She's very much like a Hazard. She has a little bit more pace than Hazard might have, but she will take on any player one-on-one. She'll dribble through you. She'll dribble around you. And she's creative. And she's the most fouled women player in the English game. She is statistically the most fouled English women's player.
So she's definitely Hazard.
She's definitely Hazard. Yeah. She's so quick, and it's almost impossible to take her down. And her balance is identical to Hazard's, where she even when she's fouled, guys. If a lot of you listeners, when you watch Hazard play, what does he do when he gets fouled and he's kicked to the ground? If it hurts, he might tend to his injury for like a second, but Hazard brushes himself off. He's not one of those guys who feigns an injury. She does the same thing. She picks herself right up. I got to see this match, and it was actually a pretty good match, and I was very happy to see our women come up on top of it like that. Kudos to our captain, Kitty Chapman, who did an excellent job, and Claire Rafferty. Chelsea women's team have a good squad of veterans mixed in with some very good younger players. And Aluko, I can't say enough. For those of you who have never watched our women play, at least Google the women's team. Watch the highlights from yesterday, and you need to start watching our girls because they're just as much as part of Chelsea as the men are.
This Chelsea's ladies team had only conceded 1 goal in the FA Cup campaign as well. So wow. Phenomenal team. We already did tweet out the highlights. You can get them on the FA TV YouTube channel. We will repost them as well. But again, we need to cover more of them, as long as some of the other teams as well. But a huge congratulations to the Chelsea ladies, taking the first FA Cup ever to be played at Wembley for them. So congratulations again. As we get past this weekend, we look ahead. Chelsea's next match is the Fiorentina, the final preseason game. It's kind of in the International Champions Cup, but it's really the Sala friendly, isn't it, Nick?
Oh yeah, I mean, this is going to be thrilling stuff. If you love a team who will remotely not care about this game, and then a team that will care way too much, sound familiar, about this game, this is the game for you, because Fiorentina is they're playing some pretty good football in preseason. They're pissed about Mohamed Salah not going to them again, and Chelsea is just going to play a match and prepare for Swansea. So if you like teams that are on complete opposite sides of the spectrum as far as caring, this is it. Watch and be thrilled.
The good news is we'll be back at Stamford Bridge. No travel. Everyone gets to sleep in their own bed. Short trip to work that day. It'll be on Wednesday, August 5th. Kind of looking over the preseason results, because that's really the only thing we have to compare. Chelsea won 3, lost 2. Fiorentina won 2, drew 1, lost 1. But those really don't matter, Jesus, now do they?
Yeah, I mean, it might matter to some, but it's just a learning curve. Fiorentina can play all they want. And, they can play as strong as they want, please, at Stamford Bridge. I don't expect a full-strength Chelsea squad. Excuse me. But, like Nick said, it's going to be Fiorentina's going to have a little temperament to their game. They're going to want to win this. They recently beat Barca, I believe, 2-1, so they'll take that into consideration. But it's just another match. I don't even know why we have to play it. I thought this tournament should have been over by now, but it is what it is. Kudos to Charlie Stilitano, Guinness, and Diageo for being the winners in this whole damn debacle, because we really just need to take a week off and let our players get ready for Swansea.
Right.
Well, I believe this is actually the first time that Chelsea and Fiorentina have played. If I'm wrong, go ahead and let us know. Tweet at the pod. I want to see the highlights, or at least the scoreline, but I couldn't find anything. So, with all that said, it's preseason, pre-Swansea. Fiorentina are pissed about Salah. What do you think the score is going to be today? And before I let you guys jump in, Dan has remotely sent in his prediction at 3-1 with a Chelsea victory.
Oh, man. Dan, you're ridiculous. I, Jesus, have vowed to do 1-0 victories, and thus that will be what I have predicted for this match.
Ooh, so if it's my turn,
here's
what I believe. It's going to be a 1-1, but then what we all learned last week in Charlotte when we drew against PSG is that in the ICC tournament there are no draws. You have to have a PK shootout. Yay, whatever. So it's going to be 1-1. Fiorentina win on PKs. I don't even care if we lose. I'm just going to go ahead and say we do. Forget about it.
Forget about it.
Courtois is going to miss the PK, the decisive PK.
Oh, jeez. He goes from hero to zero. That might be good. They bring him back down to earth. Say, okay, maybe you can't do it all. All right. Well, I'll go ahead and split a little in there. I'll say, I don't want to say a loss, but I think it'll be 2-1 for Chelsea. I agree with you, Jesus, that if we do have a strong lineup, you're not going to see them more than 45 minutes. I fully expect the second half to be even slower than today's pace and with less intensity, because, like you said, we have the most exciting day of the summer coming up next week when we play Swansea. The Premier League is so close to being back, Chelsea fans. You can feel it in the air.
I can almost taste the celery.
All right. Well, that's a wrap for this episode, Chelsea fans. Thank you for joining us again. Before we get out of here, though, let's jump into some final thoughts. Nick, what do you have for us?
Final thought would be we're close now. We're ramping up for the season. On the transfer window note, looks like Baba Rahman will be joining Chelsea. reported fee is around 25 million euros, which is up substantially from what I believe the initial bid was. But I think Jose made a strong statement today by playing Kurt Zuma at left back that we need a backup left back. We need someone who has some quality, who can play some minutes for Dave, because no player in Chelsea's squad, unless they're willing themselves to do so, like Branislav or like John Terry, should be playing every minute of the season. So I'm hoping that the Chelsea board goes and makes a couple more acquisitions to strengthen the squad, either by addition or subtraction, and we get ready to roll on Saturday. I know that in Kansas City we're already planning our big watch party and we're ready to go. So very excited to get into it, and hopefully Jesus has very similar news.
I want to go ahead and use my notes and give a big shout out to two Chelsea players on loan. The first one, Croatian player Mario Pasalic, who recently scored for Monaco in a Champions League 3-1 Champions League win against Young Boys. Scored their third and final goal for Monaco on the day, and it was his Monaco debut as well. So it's good to see him, Chelsea loanee, doing that. And another shout out to none other to the future almost Osgood of our club, and that is Bamford.
Yes.
Bamfordinho scoring a hat-trick 20 minutes in against obviously a non-league club in Bromley FC, but that doesn't take away from the fact that what he's going to do from Crystal Palace this season is going to be exceptional. And a lot of my fellow friends who I grew up with, and for those of you who are familiar with Southwest and the dirty part of London, Croydon and Bromley, there's a lot of Crystal Palace supporters out there. And my friends who are Crystal Palace supporters are just ecstatic about having Patrick Bamford. So kudos to him for the big hack trick, and that's only going to give him the motivation going into the upcoming 38 matches of the Premier League. So two Chelsea loanees standing out, good for them, and here's to many more.
I can confirm that I have a coworker who is a massive Crystal Palace fan as well, and I gave him a very big "you're welcome" when Bamfordinho went over to Crystal Palace. So it'll be good. He'll still be in London. They'll have a close eye on him, and he's going to get the Premier League experience that we all know he needs. Because you're right, Jesus, that guy is going to be the future.
I'm glad we don't have to play him, honestly.
Jeez, can you imagine?
Perks of the loan system.
Exactly.
All right. Well, I know I'm late, but I wanted to give a shout-out to Roman Petricic, who emailed us to thank us for doing the podcast. We love hearing from other Chelsea fans, so thank you, Roman. You guys are fantastic. Also, if you missed it, we interviewed Feroz Ali. You guys know him on YouTube as Feroz17. He had an amazing experience with Chelsea. I'm sure you've seen his vlog, the 45 minutes of meeting just everyone and anyone. But we actually interviewed him as well. We released it last Friday. Go check that out. It'll definitely be worth your time. And give it a quick listen. He's fantastic stuff that he didn't even cover in his vlog. Some extra stuff that he let us in on. So definitely go check that out. It'll be in iTunes, SoundCloud. You know where to find it, everyone. All right, like I said, that's a wrap for this week. We're gonna get ready for the not so big match against Fiorentina, even though they're going to come in hot. But it'll be a good chance to kind of reopen Stamford Bridge and get back to the home ground and see how Chelsea get ready for the upcoming game against Swansea. Keep the blue flag flying high, Chelsea fans.
Chelsea are the champions. Their third title under Mourinho. They're fourth in the Premier League. They're fifth in all, 60 years after the first. The Blues, by far the best of the bunch, winning from the front.